So I don't know if you know what this is. It is running inside the Polkadot desktop. I hope you downloaded it and tried it out. It has some pretty good features that I hope to showcase today. But before starting, welcome to the second day of the Web3 Summit. This year's edition is quite special. As you know, it is being run and operated on Web3 tech, which I hope is working great. This was the result of a lot of work, effort by the team, so thanks to them for making that happen. I can't be more proud of our collective achievement. That said, let me start with something uncomfortable. Those of you that are here today know that I'm real. Those that will be watching the talk online have no such guarantee. They do not know if this is my voice, my face, or even if I said any of this in this stage. And when I go online, I stopped being able to tell the difference as well. I'm not sure if every image that I'm seeing is a real one or if it has been fabricated. So while I speak, this environment, this desktop, is going to try to do something about it, which I hope is going to be useful. And for that, I will be starting the thing right now, and then you should be able to see. Just give me a second. Talk Web3 day 2. Sorry for the technical glitches. All right. I hope we should be set up by now, and I'll just give it a second to see if it starts detecting. If not, we'll skip the demo and we'll just go to the talk. All right, it seems to be working. We're good to go. Let me tell you about who I am and why I'm here today. So I'm Karim. I'm engineering director at Parity. It's been 4 years, roughly, that I'm in Web3, working on open source software. And the title of this talk is something that you probably heard every founder on every stage say over the past decade or so. People do not use technology, they use products. I said it too, and I believe it, but I think there's something very important that is missing in this sentence, so we can complete it. It's essentially 2 words, and you will know what I believe these 2 words to be in a little bit. I believe these 2 words would be the most valuable unbuilt opportunity in the internet going forward. So this is not really a UX, user experience talk. I'm talking about something else, which is a bit more important. This talk has 3 parts. First, I'm going to explain to you or tell you about how the internet is losing its humans. The second part is going to be about the technology we built at Parity, we developed at Parity to solve or address this problem. And lastly, what you can be doing with it. So let us begin. The internet is losing its humans. What do I mean by that? And how did that happen? So I think everybody's familiar with this word by now, big data. You probably heard of that. I spent a big part of my career specializing in big data systems. I was very, very good at it. So these are building machines that collect, process, and turn data into data sets into segments about people, and these segments generally into recommendation algorithms. Recommendations were not the end of the day, though. All that data is now used to create language models, voice models, image models, ChatGPT, Midjourney, and the likes. So these are modern miracles of our time that write, speak like you and me, and do many things like you and me, because these were trained on data that was produced by you and me. So the machine that collects humans' data, and the machine that imitates humans now is essentially the same machine. The data comes in, the models go out. So let me tell you now what such a machine is able to do at scale. These machines generate now content faster than our ability to verify it. And that's only going to increase from here on out. So we are at this tipping point, which I try to visualize with this graph, where the main inhabitant of the web will not be a human, but will be a bot, essentially. And we're no longer talking about bots that we knew 10 years ago that were just creating spam and all of that. We call them now agents. These are machines that hold conversations, that speak like you and me, machines that have profile pictures of people that don't exist or even do exist, and machines that have passed every single test we devised to detect them. So a question we're going to ask ourselves more and more, I think in the future, is the same question I started with. Can you trust what you're seeing on screen? Is this person real? Is there a human behind these words? Centralized platforms came up with different solutions to this problem, but there's also a problem with that. Platforms might not be enough, centralized big corporate platforms, not because they're evil, but because of what they essentially are. How I think of them is that they are databases that are being tuned by algorithms in real time to increase engagement. Many words to just say that their interest is engagement and not being, guaranteeing truth. The problem is that bots look identical to such a database than humans. The platform will show content made by a bot and a human if it serves the purpose of driving up engagement. Additionally, you cannot trust a company whose stock price is measured by number of users or active users to be an honest counter of humans. So what can we believe? Every signal we built to answer, can I trust something, is breaking. We have check marks, the little logos next to your username. We have follow accounts, star ratings, a lot of different things that, I believe now can be bought for $5 in under 5 minutes if you know the proper websites. There's a story my colleague Ian told me about a restaurant that opened in the UK that was very famous and got a lot of popular activity. And it turned out that that restaurant was fake. It didn't exist. Somebody made it up, bought a lot of ratings and followers, and it was all part of an elaborate experiment to show how our systems are fragile. So this question that I'm putting as a title currently has no working answer. And to be clear, the problem is not here that the machine generated some content or machine wrote something. The problem, AI is useful and I use it every day. I use it to prepare this presentation, I use it to code and a lot of different things. The problem is when a handful of actors, a few people, can make it look like there are many. And we take that signal, as many people agreeing, as something that we can trust. But that's not maybe the good thing. Let me make this a little bit more concrete. So there's a story a few years ago that happened in Hong Kong of this finance worker who got an email from his CFO, his chief finance officer. His CFO told me, let's wire 25 million to this account and because we need it or for whatever reasons. The protocol in this situation says that the finance worker needs to ask for visual confirmation, seeing other people in the video call to make sure that the request is legit. So they got on a call, all 4 of them, and they confirmed that everything should be done properly. So after confirmation, after they went through their process, the worker proceeded with the transfer. So he proceeded by transferring the 25 million to that account. The thing, though, is that every single person on that screen was a deepfake. A deepfake is a perfect copy of an existing person that you can make do and say whatever you want. Day to day, this same thing happens, although at a smaller scale. When you use social media platforms, you cannot tell anymore if one person is controlling different accounts you're interacting with, if the follower accounts of this specific account that you think is reputable is correct. So we cannot trust these signals anymore. Now, luckily, we solved this problem before. For the people that are a little bit not as young as me anymore, I think you remember that when email arrived, it was a miracle, similar to the language models today. But quickly, it got taken over by spam. A little bit after its introduction, email traffic was taking over 90% by spam activity. We first started filtering content, so checking the contents of the email to see if we can classify this as spam or not. But it was not sufficient. What turned the tide is that we added origin auditing, meaning instead of relying on the message itself, we started asking who sent this email and are they capable of sending a lot of cheap emails. We added reputation systems on top of the email, and this gave a score to each interaction and each email. This, in turn, made email usable again. So right now, all of us are using email for our business and for different activities. But spam did not really vanish, right? It just stopped being free and easily accessible. The learning from this solution is that you cannot make truth unfakeable. That will always be possible. What you can do is only making distributing fakes expensive again. But now, this question works for email. We won a little bit. But how about a system that works across multiple things, not just email? This is what we built at Parity. At Parity, we built the tech for cryptographic proof of personhood. We call this humanity. A way for a screen to essentially ask, is there exactly one unique human here? And a way for another human to recognize that independently without needing to trust a third party. I like to think of this technology as authentication infrastructure, something that you can use to authenticate someone, but without identifying them, without telling who they are. The functioning of the system is a talk in of itself, so I'm skimming on a few details here, but you can experience it today at the venue using the Polkadot mobile app. For those online, think of it as Apple Pay, but for your identity. When you use Apple Pay, the merchant doesn't know who you are. They just know that the payment went through. They do not know your bank account. They do not know your name. They don't know anything. So tap, and the machine knows that you're one human, authenticated but not identified. And the difference is very, very important. The humanity system is very flexible. As I said, I'm just going to tell you that it allows to leverage multiple decentralized identity models, so DIMs we call them, for your specific use case. Just right now, we played what's called DIM2. You play a little game, social game with other people, and then they verify you as a human or not. This provides, in turn, a mathematical proof of individuality for a specific key. Now, no matter which mechanism of these you pick, the information of which key is actually a unique individual has to be stored somewhere, right? So who controls where that is stored? A central database of verified humans is obviously too dangerous for a single company to own. So here is exactly where decentralization actually earns its place, not as a synonym for freedom, but as a strict security requirement. Humanity only means something when no central authority can quietly print more humans. So how can we guarantee those properties? In order for this to work, humanity has to build on open protocols, neutral plumbing that anyone can build on, plug into, like HTTP or the web itself. We develop humanity on Polkadot. Anyone can build on it. No single entity can shut it off, raise the gates, or change the rules unilaterally. Anything less is a disaster waiting to happen. Now, a small note. I told at the beginning that this isn't a UX talk, but the next slide will touch a little bit about UX, because technology that works can still be delivered the completely wrong way. If you look at the Polkadot app, when you install it, this is not shown to you. Previously, this is what we were showing people when they onboarded or started interacting with our technology. This is what we commonly refer to as a seed phrase, a bunch of words that hold the secret to a key. Although it's powerful, it's too complicated for regular people or anyone, actually, to deal with it, because you have to store it safely, you have to deal with it, and if you lose it, everything is over. So the bottom line is that even if the tech is good, for it to matter, it has to be presented in ways that are more likely to be used correctly. So use the application and give feedback in there to know if we did it justice. So this is why I believe the sentence we've all been saying for 10 years is not complete, these topics that I told you just now about. So people don't use technology, right? They use products. And we stopped at products, but I believe we need to be precise. We need essentially products for humans. I know it's a little change, but it matters, because we need products for humans to use, so without the seed phrases, the complexity and all of that. And we need products for humans to be human in, where a person can prove they are a person and still be private themselves. So the difference for me matters because this is not about utility, right? This is not just packaging tech, but rather human-centered design. When we start doing that, I think a lot of different things unlock. And most of the industry is really just focusing on the first part, but the whole rest of the internet is starting to get the second part wrong. starting to ask people to make videos of themselves in Discord to register for specific things. And it's not looking good. I believe the companies that get both these things right, wrapping technology nicely plus building things for humans, will win the next 20 years. So what happens if all of this works out? I believe that if all of this works out, the internet will find its humans again, and we will solve the same problem that we had with email, but beyond just email. So there is a solution, and this solution unlocks a lot of interesting things. Using Trinity, the platform Gavin presented yesterday, coupled with the authentication primitives provided by humanity, a lot of things suddenly become possible. At the summit, we're seeing a lot of applications being built, and I talked yesterday with a few of the builders, and it's really exciting to see. And in all of the discussion, none of them mentioned Web3. They all mentioned what is possible to do with the technology. And I think this is how we start creating a little bit of a change. Which brings me to what we can actually call this next phase, right, that we're building together. The Web 2 is becoming the bot web, right? It's being taken over by bots, and there's very little that we can do. Because platforms each build silos that they control, and they don't have a shared authentication infrastructure to bind things together. So we can make Web 3 what we call the human web, right? Not only a layer that proves the internet is still humans, but also that it was made specifically for humans, which is where you come in. Right? The cryptography is there, it's working, you can experience it today. The proofs of privacy exist, all that technology is functional. What doesn't exist yet is the products. So I'm inviting you to build products too, but not only focusing on infrastructure. Build them for humans, not raw technology, but also outcomes, things that matter. And build them on ground that no one owns. This one is the important part because this is where you can make sure that the technology will not be taken over by a political power, as Yanis shared yesterday. So the stake is not a market, right? The stake is answering that question that I asked at the beginning, knowing whether it really has an answer or not at all in the internet our kids will inherit. So now remember what I told you at the beginning, right? I've been transcribing my speech during this talk in real time, right? And as the speech was transcribed, block hashes of the network have been embedded inside that speech. And now for the good part, if the demo works out well, I have to take out my Polkadot app to actually prove something here. If everything works out well, the demo is fine. If not, then I have to apologize. So I click here to register. This will pop up something. I get the approval on my application, which will sign this with my key. I approve again. I get another approval. And give it a few seconds for it to propagate, and I will explain if everything works. If it's good, no, maybe, yeah, okay. So it's looking good so far. So there you go. If you take now your Polkadot app and scan this QR code, what happens is, let me see, yeah, it's working. You will see my whole speech transcribed in real time and verified and signed by my cryptographic key. What this receipt tells you, it tells you that this talk happened this morning. These were the exact words that were said. And one verified unique human, me, identified by the username SpaceCat, has given this talk. So scan it, keep it, and if you see a video of me online without such a receipt, you can be sure that it was made by AI. So do not trust the video, verify the receipt, and I thank you very much.